Welcome to another episode of the Trivia Power Hour Gaming, the show where we look at gaming secrets, Easter eggs, facts, and trivia you want to know about. If you know of any more trivia, or have a game, series, or developer you want me to cover, let me know in the comments, like the video, and consider subscribing. Also, make sure to stick around to the end for I'll announce what we'll be looking at in the next episode. But, for now, let's get right into the trivia. Today, we'll be taking a look at the first, and most surprising, roles of some big name voice actors. Let's start off with one of the big ones, Troy Baker. Troy, as well as other voice actors we'll get to in just a minute, has become one of the biggest names in the business, but in comparison to everyone else on this list, actually has the smallest number of total acting jobs at 348, including voice and live action roles, although that is still quite a high number. He's arguably best known as Joel in The Last of Us, Sam in Uncharted 4, Kanji in Persona 4, and Booker in BioShock Infinite, to name just a few. His debut role was in 2004's Case Closed, The Time Bomb Skyscraper, also known as Detective Conan with the same subtitle, where he played Jin and some additional voices. As Troy is just as big a name in anime dubbing as he is in video games, this makes perfect sense as a launching point for his career. His first video game role, though uncredited, is in the English dub of Persona 2 Innocent Sin, where he played Akechi Mishina, but his first credited role would come in 2003's Full Metal Alchemist and the Broken Angel, where he played Outlaw Alchemist. As far as his, and everyone else's in this list's weirdest role goes, we're just going to stick to video games to keep it manageable and relevant. For me, the most surprising was to see Troy play the role of Slimer, the little green blob-looking ghost, in 2009's Ghostbusters game. With the remastered version announced to come out sometime this year, it's the best chance to hear Troy, as well as all the stars from the original films, in what many consider to be the true Ghostbusters 3. Nolan North, the original breakout name in video game voice acting, has become the go-to actor for the everyday hero type character. Characters like Uncharted's Nathan Drake, Assassin's Creed's Desmond, and Deadpool's Deadpool are just a taste of his vocal talents. Yet he too has a relatively low 398 total acting credits, again, both live action and VO. Nolan's first voice job, which was also his first video game role, was in 1999's Interstate 82, a car combat game in a similar vein as Twisted Metal or Vigilante 8, where he played the character of Hinckley. Thankfully, the game's middling to low reviews didn't discourage him from pursuing more games in the future. On the live-action side of things, his first role was in 1997 in the ABC soap opera Port Charles, a spin-off from General Hospital, as Dr. Chris Ramsey. For Nolan's weirdest role, I'm torn between his roles in Shrek Super Slam as the weirdly rock and roll cliche Quasimodo,
Speak up, bro! I only got ears for rock and roll, if you know what I mean!
or the grandpa in The Princess Bride game, if only because of how weird it is for him to have worked on such a small, low-budget game, especially after having already done roles like Uncharted. The first female voice actor on our list, Jennifer Hale, is about on par with Troy and Nolan in terms of total roles, with 394 to her name. You'd probably most recognize her as the voice of FemShep in the Mass Effect trilogy, Naomi Hunter in the MGS series, and Bastila from KOTOR. Her first voice role, which, again, was her first video game, was in 1993's Quest for Glory 4, Shadows of Darkness, as Katrina, a mysterious woman who aids the hero throughout the game. If you're familiar with other Sierra Online games of that era, then this point-and-click style game will look very familiar. The very first role she ever had was in a 1988 TV movie titled A Father's Homecoming, where she played a small, unnamed character. Like with most people on this list, I couldn't just pick one weirdest video game role, so here's two. First is Xel'lotath, the Lovecraftian-inspired ancient horror goddess of insanity, in Eternal Darkness.
Mercy has no place in this world. It has only a place for me.
Though, to be fair, she is voiced by Jennifer Hale as well as Kim Mai Guest. The second is Trinity in The Matrix: Path of Neo.
We don't need this. We're not done yet.
Which had a weird mix of some actors replacing their roles in the films, while others didn't. While it certainly isn't strange for her to voice a character like Trinity, I was just surprised by the fact that it wasn't actually Carrie-Anne Moss, because of how good she was in the role. Starting with Steve Blum, we're really going to start to see some big numbers in terms of total roles. Having been in the VO business for decades, primarily doing anime dub work, but still appearing in more than his fair share of games, Steve Blum has amassed an amazing 751 total acting credits. He is no doubt best known as Spike from Cowboy Bebop, but was also Ares in God of War and Grunt in Mass Effect 2. His debut role was in the 1992 dub of the anime Guyver Bio Booster Armor, where he played both Agito Makishima and Thancred. In terms of his limited live-action appearances, his first was in 1984's Canadian made-for-TV movie Countdown to Looking Glass, credited under the name David Lucas. The first game he performed in was the first game fully designed by Tim Schafer, 1995's Full Throttle, as a minor character named Sid. For Steve's weirdest games, it depends if you are already familiar with him voicing Guilmon in Digimon, which makes his performance in the Digimon Rumble Arena game no surprise. But two others I know I'd never guess were Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible Operation Surma.
Marku is dead.
What? How?
Shot on the street as we were walking out.
And Jack Shepard in Lost Via Domos.
Good job with a fuel leak. You saved a lot of lives. Name's Jack.
What makes them even weirder is that he didn't even seem to be directed to try and mimic the two actors he was portraying, basically at all, and sounds pretty much just like Steve Blum, which is by no means a bad thing. Yuri Lowenthal, like Steve Blum, may be equally known for his work in anime as he is in video games, but I would say he leans a little bit more on the video game side than Steve. Lowenthal has a total of 690 acting jobs to his name, but is probably most known for his recent portrayal of Spider-Man, Yosuke in Persona 4, and Sasuke in Naruto. His first ever role is a little difficult to pin down, but, excluding an 8-minute short, appears to be in an episode of Viva Variety, a sketch comedy series in 1997. His first voice role was in SD Gundam Force as Bake Netsumaru. Again, things get a little confusing as to which video game actually came first for Lowenthal, between an uncredited role in 2002's Dungeon Siege, 2004's SD Gundam Force Showdown, as the same role he played in the show, although it looks to be credited under the name Yellow Lollycup, and 2003's Naruto Clash of Ninja, depending on the source. What is important, though, was his role as the Prince in The Prince of Persia: Sands of Time, which was his big break into video game voice work. For Lowenthal's weirdest game, I had to go with the weirdest to see his name attached to, since there wasn't anything that jumped out at me as being particularly out of his normal wheelhouse. First is actually 5 games in the Lord of the Rings series where he's played Frodo.
I am Frodo Baggins, and I bear the ring.
Which were Conquest, Aragorn's Quest, War in the North, Lego Lord of the Rings, and Guardians of Middle-earth. He also actually voiced Goku from the PSP game based on the terrible Dragon Ball Evolution movie. And, to top it all off, played someone named Bryce in 2 Bratz games. I'll let you decide which is the most embarrassing. Robin Atkin Downes may not be as much of a household name as the others on this list, at least for those who pay attention to voice actors anyway, but is still one you'd definitely recognize if you heard it. Dipping back down again to a total of 394 acting roles so far, Downes is unmistakable as Kazuhira Miller in the MGS series, Travis Touchdown in No More Heroes, and Luxord in Kingdom Hearts. His first role, which was also his first video game, was 1990's Lord of the Rings as Legolas. Weird how Lord of the Rings keeps coming up. Anyway, Downes' first live-action role wouldn't be until 1997 in Buffy the Vampire Slayer as Makita in the episode titled Reptile Boy. His weirdest role, personally, would be the medic from Team Fortress 2.
The charge, Herr Doctor! Now is the time, Herr Doctor! Another successful procedure!
Which sounds nothing like his normal roles. Other oddities are Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean, as well as Kingdom Hearts 3, as well as George Washington from Assassin's Creed 3. The sophisticated voice and face of Leon O'Brien has appeared a total of 465 times so far. Most known as the voice of Grimoire Weiss in Nier, Gaara in Naruto, and himself, as well as various characters on the show Critical Role, O'Brien is not only an accomplished actor, but writer and director as well. He got his start, again like many others on this list, in anime with 2001's Boogie Pop Phantom as Yoji Suganuma, and others. His first game was the Dot Hack GU series playing Endrantz. Because of his usual high-class tone, his weirdest roles really stuck out as Eddie in the Silent Hill 2 HD collection, but his incredible performance as Gollum in Shadow of Mordor is really impressive.
You will remember Precious. We will make him.
Yes. We must have it back.
I would forgive most people for thinking it was Andy Serkis himself playing the role. Last on this list, but by no means least, is Laura Bailey with an impressive 460 total acting roles to her name. Alongside Yuri Lowenthal, she's recently been Mary Jane Watson in Spider-Man, Nadine Ross in Uncharted 4 and The Lost Legacy, as well as Catherine, the one spelled with a C, in Catherine. Sticking with the theme of starting in anime before branching off, her first voice role was in the 1999 Dragon Ball Z dub as the young Trunks, half of Gotenks and Dende. When she did start working in games though, she was able to snag a lead role on her first try. I mean, it was for Blood Rain, but still. Looking for Bailey's weirdest roles, I again go to the redub of the Silent Hill games in the HD collection, where in 3 she played the role of the High Priestess of the Order, Claudia Wolf.
They've come to witness the beginning. The rebirth of paradise.
Alternatively, while less weird since Bailey has plenty of strong characters' performances to her name, her performance as the coarse and complex character of Kaine in Nier stands out to me as one she really disappears into.
This creature, it's me. I thought I'd need it only until I found my vengeance. And once that happened, I figured it was all over.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Trivia Power Hour Gaming. Next episode, we'll be taking a look at the games made by From Software, so subscribe to make sure you don't miss it. In the meantime, you can check out some of my other videos you may have missed, for even more gaming trivia I know you'll like.